Well, good morning, everybody. This is DearMamaSal on a slightly cloudy and slightly warmer Wednesday. It's 6 degrees here in southern British Columbia, which would make it, I think, about 43 in American. And it is what we call Pink Shirt Day. Now, I don't have a pink shirt, so I wore the closest thing I could, which is a pink sweater. I'm not sure if you have Pink Shirt Day in the States or around the rest of the world, but in Canada, Pink Shirt Day is the day that we dedicate to anti-bullying. And if any of you have ever been subject to bullying, you will know how important it is that we keep the awareness high. Now, obviously, I've been the subject of bullying and the recipient of bullying many times, especially since I became a YouTuber. And so it's a really important discussion that we need to have. Now, some of my viewers have written to me because they're being bullied by their parents, even though they're adults, or by their siblings, or by whatever. Bullying is a horrible, horrible thing. And for most of us, we do not have the tools. We were not taught how to deal with that. So the number one thing is bullying. I'd like to put into very simple terms. Bullying is what anybody does to make you feel small. When I say make you feel small, that they insult you or they punish you or do whatever for not doing things their way. They want control of you. And when they can't get it, they get very angry and they punish you. And when that happens, that is bullying. However, there's the other side of that that says it is also their choice, and we have to respect that. So what's the most important set of tools that we need to combat bullying? Well, let's take it in its different forms. Let's say a parent is bullying an adult child. My mom did this to me. When she first lived with me. And she started to tell me as an adult that I needed to be home by 7 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night, whatever it was, the time that she came up with. And I'm laughing now because that's what happened to me. I said, "What did you just say?" Because I found it amusing. And so I did what I recommend everybody does in a situation like that, is I looked at her and I said, "Bless your heart, that used to work so well when I was a child." Unfortunately for you, I've become an adult, and as an adult, I can come home anytime I like. As long as I'm paying the bills, as long as it's my home, as long as it's, and I sort of went down the list. And I said, I think all those things, give me the right to come home anytime I like. And then the manipulation came with, well, you need to be home because I get scared at night. And then I have to admit, I said the words that she definitely didn't want to hear, which is, I'm really sorry to hear that, but that is your problem. Would you like me to get you some help around that? Can we get you some therapy so you can deal with that issue? What? Would you like some therapy to help you deal with your problem? Because it is your problem, not mine. And so you see that the manipulation didn't work. And then, of course, she punished me. And that's a pretty childish behavior as well, isn't it? I'm going to stomp my foot and take my ball away because you won't play ball my way. That's very sad. And it's very sad for her because, you know, it took some time for her to realize I was not going to bend to her manipulation and I was, you know, going to stand strong. So it's not that you don't listen to what people say. You do. And you give... one of the things I learned from being a speaker, when everybody can judge you on an evaluation form and you have no way of replying to their judgments of you, one of the things I learned is it really pays you to ask the question, is there any truth in this criticism? In other words, you know, is this true to some degree? Or is it totally true? And by the way, how many people are making this comment? If it's one person in 3,000, I'm not going to worry too much, obviously. But if it's 1,500 people out of 3,000, I think I better wake up and have a look at this issue. A typical example where it comes in families, and it comes in siblings as well. As I think some of you know, I have that problem in my family, which is I have one sibling that really just wants me to do things her way and then life will be better for me. Well, you know, I'd like to be respected for having my way of doing things as well. And if you choose not to give me any slack on that, that's your right, but I'm not going to be spending a lot of time trying to correct the situation. I have to say I'm very, very lucky. I've got a brother who, regardless of what he thinks, has never, I think has very rarely ever, I'm not going to say never because I think he did once, has very rarely ever made a judgment and let me live my life my way. And that's the ultimate in love, I think. That he trusts that I will make my own way, my way. There is no right way, people. If your way makes you happy and doesn't hurt anybody else, that's a good way. And so, don't you think that the world would be a lot happier okay, I've got a Volkswagen ahead of me and I think she's pedaling through the floor, if you know what I mean. And I've got a Hummer behind me and for sure he's not going to wait any minute now. Okay, well, we'll have to do what everybody else is doing, which is to undercut the Volkswagen and yeah. And that is 5 cars that have undertaken the Volkswagen and she still hasn't moved. Wow. That's pretty arrogant, isn't it? Okay, so bullying for me started at school. I was definitely bullied at school because I was English as a second language. I arrived at school with as much Dutch as I had English, because I'd been born in Holland, and therefore I didn't have all the expressions and all the, there were a lot of things I was missing that made me an outsider, and I was bullied quite a bit. I went to a girls' boarding school at the age of 6, and I'll talk about that more when I do a series on my life. But I was pretty I must say I enjoyed that I wasn't bullied at that particular school. I was bullied subsequently at another school, and it was horrendous. It was, like initiation stuff, and when I think about it now, it was definitely cruelty. We wouldn't tolerate it today. So I believe it is vitally important that we teach our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our friends, and maybe even our enemies, how not to be bullied. And how not to be manipulated. And how not to take being punished too harshly. Okay, so let's take those 3 things. Number 1, how not to be bullied takes courage. For example, when a viewer threatened my life, because I didn't agree with her perspective, my first call, in fact, and not call because I did it via the internet, but my first reaction was to give her a warning and to say, please don't ever do that again, because if you do, I will be reporting you to the police. And she did it again, and I reported her to the police with her very long list of pseudonyms that she uses, different screen names that she uses, and so the reason that I did that was, if anything ever happened to me, I wanted to make sure they knew where to start. But other than that, I am not going to change my life for one person who doesn't happen to agree with my point of view. I'm sorry. I have my standards, I have my viewpoint, I have my right to live life on my terms, as long as it's within the law. And so I'm really sorry if it pisses you off. But, hello, move on. And so I look at it and go, what is the number 1 rule? The number 1 rule is value yourself. Now, a lot of our children get bullied at school, and they actually don't value themselves enough to do anything about it. In other words, I don't mean, be violent or do anything like that. If every time somebody was bullied, the bully was reported and punishment was given to the bully, we'd have far less bullying. If every time there was bullying, everybody who watched it go on grouped together and protected the person being bullied and reported the bully, there'd be a lot less bullying going on. And what happens is, it's the the way people don't do things that creates the bully. It's the lack of action that creates a bully. And then, of course, you've got the hangers-on to the bully, right? The other people who want to be part of the clique. So and schools today are pretty good about protecting young people from bullies. Now, I know that one of the people in my life, he got bullied almost every day coming home from school. People would people would lie in wait. Sorry. I correct other people for saying that. People would lie in wait for him and beat him up. And so what are the answers? What do you do? Well, obviously you report the situation, but if it continues and if the school is unable to give any protection, then you go and pick up your child from school. And when that doesn't work, because it's not humanly possible, then you move the child to another school and hope and pray that it doesn't repeat itself. Actually, it was the best thing that we did for this friend of mine, because when he moved schools, he actually did extremely well, because most of his time wasn't worrying about being bullied. And the other thing we need to give is self-esteem. We want to make sure that our children, friends, siblings, husbands, wives know that bullying isn't tolerated, whether that's verbal abuse or physical abuse. That's the number one thing. It's not tolerated in this household. And by the way, this is not an idle threat. Do it again, I'm out of here, or you're out of here. And that takes self-esteem. Real self-esteem. This says that I am more important to me and I will not allow you to hurt me in this way. Now, having said all of that, I'd like us all to take a look around at ourselves, because how many of us manipulate our children? And own that one. I want to tell you, the majority of people that are likely to listen to this vlog, the majority of us manipulate other people, if we're honest. And so let us change the way that we do it and start saying, this is what I would like to see happen. And also make sure you say, but I understand as an adult, you have the right to make your own decision. However, as an adult, I also have the right not to tolerate that behavior. I give the example of people coming to your house for dinner and using cell phones at your dining room table. And they can give you the look from hell, they can call you, you're not with it or whatever, but you know something, it is your dining room table. Put the basket out there, tell people to put their cell phones in there, and wait half an hour. And like most children, a lot of people will stomp their foot and be angry because you won't do things their way. That is childish, but understandable. And my attitude is give them a few days to recover and to process it through. And if they don't do so, that's their right. Unfortunately, that's their right. And if you are in a good place in your mind, then you will respect that right. All right, so Pink Shirt Day. Don't let's let bullying happen to us. Don't let us sit by and watch it happen to other people. Let us do something about it. If every one of us does something about it, including protecting ourselves, this world will be a better place. And that, remember to look after one another, but most of all, remember to look after yourself. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for listening, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye for now.